and bad, kind of helped me learn kind of what works for me and what I think works for other students when it comes to teaching, especially in data science or statistics and computer science. And so I think, yeah, just I never took any formal teaching courses or anything like that. I don't think most professors do, although that maybe we should. As far as specific aspects of the Purdue experience that prepared me for teaching, I think the Purdue Statistics has, or at least had when I was there, I think it still exists, is the Statistical Consulting Service. And so that was something where statistics students were paired with non-statistics students or professors who are looking for help in analyzing their data for their own research. And we would provide we would act as a statistical consultant with, with a supervisor who was a stats professor, of course, but that really helped expose me to a lot of different students from other areas outside of statistics. And so although I primarily teach data scientists, I do sometimes have to teach people who don't necessarily have the same background as I do. And I think it gave me, although I'm teaching in a program where most of the students will go into industry, and I don't have that industry experience myself. So I think having that additional exposure to what a lot of different people were working on in a lot of different areas did help me at least gain some of the perspective that is useful in teaching students who will really need to apply their work with people who are not data scientists and not from a computer science background. And then, yeah, just experiencing classes and learning what I didn't like about some professors' teaching style and what I did like, and getting an idea of what things I wanted to do and what things I didn't want to do.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That's very helpful and informative. Now, one question I'm gonna kind of throw at you, I didn't have you prepared for this, but you were one of our Sloan Indigenous graduate partnership program, SIGP scholars, and just want to acknowledge that this is a scholarship, this is a fellowship we have for graduate students who are pursuing a master's or PhD in a STEM discipline. And if you wouldn't mind talking a little about your SIGP experiences, and I know that you also presented at a number of conferences and kind of connected to how you were able to use your SIGP research and how that helped you to do some presentations and gain some national honors.
Oh, yeah. So when I first became more connected with the Native Center at Purdue, Ken Ridgway asked to meet with me and told me more about the Sloan Indigenous Graduate Partnership Program. And, at first I already had I already had support for my degree at that point. And so I said, well, if there's any other natives who need it more than me, it should maybe go to them. But he said, well, you're here, and as long as you're here, it's for you, and think of what things that you can do that it can kind of like improve your experience and help you give back further and things like that. Because it's not like it's not, if I don't take it, it's not like it's going to anyone else instead. And so I was with that perspective, like of what are the things that it can help me do that I couldn't do without it. I was happy to be part of the Sloan program. I was really happy to have those other Sloan scholars, Indigenous graduate students with me as a family, and being able to have Sloan meetings every week and kind of practice and see other students practice their presentations was definitely helpful. In terms of presentation experience, or also helping other people with presentation experience. It helped me to go to more conferences than I might have been able to go to otherwise. And so definitely something that I've learned is the importance of communication and being able to communicate your results and why your work is important. I think that's something that a lot of students who are really talented and really good at what they do They might be excellent students, they might be doing incredible research, but not everyone is able to communicate why that research is important and why people should care about it as much. And so I'm most happy that I was able to get so much experience presenting at different conferences, whether it was ACES, ASMS, which is a mass spec conference, or other things more closely related to my own work. Travel to Europe and present in Belgium and the Netherlands to people working in imaging mass spec. So I was working on statistics and as applied to technology called imaging mass spectrometry. And so I really had to learn how to present why my work is important to people who don't necessarily understand statistics. I was also fortunate enough to be able to travel to the Montana schools that were part of the Sloan program as well, and meet natives from other parts of the country. And so that was great as well. But I think the main thing that I am happy about is the experience it gave me in terms of presenting and communicating work.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. That was wonderful. So we're winding down. Our last question that I've been posing to all our alums that have been joining us today is, now that you've had this whole wealth of experience here at Purdue and you're now teaching faculty, what type of advice would you give to some of our current students who are thinking about coming to Purdue, and maybe even advice to some of our students that are currently in classes here at Purdue?
Oh man, advice to current students or new students. I would say that one of the most important things, I think, is to know who you are or learn who you are and really figure out what's important to you and hang on to those things. So there's so many things that will change in the world around you, and so many struggles you'll go through as a student and after graduation, that knowing who you are and knowing what things are the most important to you, I think is really important. And so for me, I work in statistics and I teach, and those things are important to me, but knowing who I am means remembering that I'm Zuni, I'm a Native person and a Native woman. I'm a writer of fiction and poetry. And these are the things that kind of keep me going and will always remain important to me and allow me to kind of recharge and find my strength even when things in work or in school are becoming really difficult. So I would say to figure out who you are and hold it very close to you, and do things that support and are able to grow those parts of you that are what's most important. And don't, if you have a program or a boss or a supervisor or anything like that that wants to discourage you from those things, don't listen to them. And keep nurturing and building the fire for the things that are important to you, and helping you grow as the person that's most important to you.
Yeah, such wonderful advice, and it's hard for you to believe, Kylie, that you are not considered one of the elders of our Purdue community, our Purdue NAECC community. But one thing I also want to note, as you're talking and I see your image behind you, and really looking at acknowledging that you need self-care and physical outlets to do that, and your passion is running. So I'm not sure if you want to share just a couple of clips about anything about some of your running. You've recently completed, was it 1 or 2 marathons?
Yeah, so I was actually able to start running again during the pandemic. I'd taken a long break. So I first started running at Purdue in the last couple of years of my Ph.D. program, and really enjoyed it, being able to connect with the land like that. And as a Zuni person, well, both Zuni and other Pueblo tribes have a long history of being fast runners and intertribal races and things like that. And a story that I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but the way that our tribe got our name is at one of the intertribal Pueblo races. There was a really fast boy who came from a named Zuni family. We call ourselves Shiwi or Ashiwi, and Zuni was a family name, and the boy was really fast, and they said, "Oh, look at that fast Zuni boy," and so that became known as the name of the tribe is from a running race. My mother became a runner when I was younger, and so she's still been running through her 50s, 60s, and 70s. Not as much lately, but she still wants to get back into it. And at Purdue through the Native Center, I was able to meet Billy Mills, which was actually before I started running myself, but understanding again that history with running and being Native, it did help inspire me to start getting healthy and losing weight and running again. And I really enjoyed competing and running races. And then I stopped for a while. I was going through a lot of things. I am a trans woman. I'm transgender, and transitioning and a lot of big changes in my life kind of took me out of practice for a bit. But now, since the pandemic and COVID-19, I started running again to get back in shape and get outside again, when we were all inside for so long, and we probably should have been outside more to begin with. And so I competed in my third marathon last month, the Indy Monumental Marathon. I finished in 3:26:28, so 3 hours 26 minutes, which was a good enough time to qualify me for the Boston Marathon. And so there was no cutoff for the Boston Marathon this year. So the way Boston Marathon works is there's qualifying times. They don't always have enough spots for everyone who applies. So there's usually an additional cutoff time that you have to meet. Either I did meet it or there wasn't a cutoff time, but in any case, I got accepted to race the Boston Marathon in April. So I'm really looking forward to that and improving and running faster again. But you can probably see behind me is the mural from this year's Boston Marathon, which was held on Indigenous Peoples Day. Since, again, due to the pandemic, it was moved from its usual April date on Patriots Day in Boston. It was moved to Indigenous Peoples Day. And I don't think they really planned ahead for that at the time. It was just the date that most of the towns, since Boston runs through several towns in addition to Boston itself, and it was the day that they could get their permit for. So it was a little bit late, but they did manage to, they did kind of make it up to the Indigenous community and were able to hold something special for us. So they made space for Indigenous runners to come together in Copley Square, which is near the finish line. This beautiful mural was painted by Yatika Star Fields, along with some local Wampanoag artists, I believe. And so it features several Native runners. And it was really nice being able to meet up with other Indigenous runners. The official starter for the elite field in this year's Boston Marathon was Patty Catalano Dillon, who had been the runner-up for 3 Boston Marathons before and was one of the first really professional athletes in the US. She's a Mi'kmaq woman, and so she was really a groundbreaking trailblazer for not just Native women in running, but really women in running in general. So she held records for just about every distance in the American records, from the 5K through the marathon. And so it was really nice to meet her and go on a short shakeout run with her before the marathon, although I didn't run it this year, but I'm looking forward to doing that next year.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and your stories. And we still consider you one of our most active members of our center, and we always enjoy having you come back and visit us and everything. So with that, I would like to again thank you for joining us. And we have one more we have one more event coming up, one more Throwback Thursday event coming up. We'll be featuring Connick Phillips, who is now at Rice University. So he will be our last speaker, and we'll be advertising that in the weeks to come. So thanks again to everybody for joining us. And thank you so much, Kylie, for coming out and joining us. And also say hello to your family. We always enjoy connecting with your family. And I hope you all have a safe holiday as we prepare for the end of the year. And I know Shallow's coming up too, right?
Yes, it'll actually be this weekend.
Okay.
I am staying home this time just with the pandemic again and everything, so I don't want to further expose people from traveling. So hopefully I'll be going again next year, but this year I decided to just to stay home with the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Shalako is a dance that takes place in the winter, and it's going to be taking place this coming Saturday, December 4th. So I think by the time this airs, we've had Shalako will have already passed. So with that, I hope everybody has a safe celebration back in Zuni. All right, thank you again, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off.
Okay. Thank you.